Okay, so this is part 2 of the video I was making on red flags to look out for when it comes to people on the internet who claim to be, licensed, whatever, therapists or life coaches or, social justice advocates, and how to basically essentially recognize and discern who is really working for the devil and who is working for the divine, essentially. So, first red flag that I just was talking about was regarding knowing your audience and knowing who you would be most effective with helping in terms of advocacy and social justice, etc. And like I was saying, nothing wrong with specifically gearing your work towards a specific population or even gender or group or community or anything like that. And that depends on how you carry yourself. I mean, the fact of the matter is, and I'm just going to share this example, this particular hoe was on her shit interviewing famous people, which was also another red flag to me, because she was interviewing people that it was like, why it didn't really pertain to anything. It just almost seemed quite like clout chase-ish to me, because it was like, how is this? I don't know. And then I'll tell you the rest of it. So the other red flag about it was, this chick was, again, when you're talking about building rapport and carrying yourself as a quote-unquote professional, which I don't even, agree with those dumbass labels anyway, but my point in saying that is, you got to play the game. You got to know the game and know how to play it in order to survive in this society. And one thing, or even under a certain field or credential, and one thing any therapist knows when it comes to ethics and how you present yourself is that if I go into a therapy session wearing a tube top with my cleavage hanging out with one of my male clients, they're not gonna fucking be able to heal or pay a fucking attention the entire time. Why would I do that? It's honestly kind of cruel and sick. It's like, this is supposed to be a healing space and you're putting your titties all up in their face. Did that just rhyme? Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, facts, because that's what this bitch was doing. And I'm sorry, I'm going to call her a bitch, because that is how you were presenting yourself. And please do not come on my shit talking about any type of slut shaming. I hate that goddamn label too, and I'm throwing it in the motherfucking trash, because the fact of the matter is, in certain professions, in certain contexts, putting your boobies or your fucking vagina all over the internet for everybody to see when you're trying to build rapport with clients and help heal people and help be a change agent is irresponsible. It's unprofessional, quote unquote, and it's disgusting. I mean, it's unnecessary too. It's like, it's very attention seeky. So in this particular video, I wish I could tell you who it was, because it's also somewhat hilarious, because as a mental health professional, obviously I deal with a lot of people, and I've dealt with a lot of very manipulative people with personality disorders, and it was very evident and obvious to me that this was quite strategic and purposeful, because it's just kind of like, come on. This bitch literally, throughout pretty much the entire interview, she was wearing a low-cut t-shirt, but you could see her boobs popping out, basically, and then leaned over, and you could literally see down her shirt the entire interview. I mean, come on now. And I could tell by the way that the rapper was, like, moving his eyes like to other places and not wanting to look directly at the screen, that it was making him uncomfortable as fuck. And whatever that reason was, it's still not fair, and it's fucked up to invite somebody on your shit under this guise of, oh, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and then put them in that shitty position. How can he even think or talk? I mean, it's sick. It's manipulative. It's low vibrational. It's pathetic. It's a lot of things. And I can tell you right now, it's a red flag, because what if one of her clients came to her page and saw that shit? Oof. I'll explain another video I saw that was basically, and again, what if one of your clients saw this? I mean, if I saw that page and some of these things and I was one of her clients, I would stop seeing her. I would be like, holy shit, this is like, it kind of points to her own mental health issues, to be quite honest, because, I don't know, like, I'm a mental health therapist, and you see, I don't even put my face on here, because I have a licensure, and it's important that I present myself in such a way. I know I cuss a lot, but that doesn't really matter. And like, I mean, it could, if one of my clients came on here and they heard it and they didn't like it or thought it was distasteful, but I think if you're doing the right thing, you have healthy intentions, etc. It's one of those things where I'm not too concerned about it, just because most of my clients are between the ages of like 18 and I'd say like 45 or 40-ish. I mean, usually 35, but whatever. Anyway, and all of them are quite laid back. And also, cussing versus presenting yourself in a way that's, just, again, kind of unprofessional. And again, I guess you could say the cussing would be unprofessional, but that's also why I don't show my goddamn face. So, anywho, and nobody knows my name. Anyway, so, different than showing your whole fucking face and putting your whole fucking name out there, which this particular chick is doing. So, and even, like, with the labels, I'm saying, like, back to the slut shaming and stuff, if any of my clients were to come on and see this, I would have no problem explaining. Labels are fake, and I think they're used as a way, like, I don't think that's a thing. Like, I think there is a certain way of presenting yourself. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with modeling and, showing the body in a beautiful, creative and way, tastefully. But my issue when it's distasteful and in a context of, you're supposed to be a professional here, or in the context of, why the fuck are you on the internet posting your boobies for random people to see? That screams there's something else going on there. You're lonely, you're insecure, you have low self-esteem. So I would just explain it in that way. And on top of it, I just don't believe that slut shaming is a real thing. I think that's been used as, I don't know, I think our society has become a little bit too accepting of certain things and not recognizing that, no, women deserve to be treated better and they deserve to treat themselves better. And so it's not to shame, but sometimes a healthy amount of shame is good and is needed in order to create a change. I mean, I don't like shame, and I think there's a different way to go about it, but I think there has to be some amount of, yeah, this is not, my dad could see this shit. That's the type of shit I think about. I think about that shit when it comes to shit like that. That's why I'm very modest. And on top of it, I have high self-esteem. Like, I posted on this bitch's channel, I could walk around in a motherfucking trash bag, and I'm not, I mean, and I say that because I used to live in New York, and I would wear this huge fucking black sweater, and it would cover my whole fucking body, and it basically looked like a goddamn trash bag. And I would still get hollered at, and, ooh, I like me some white chocolate. Yeah, shit like that. So, weird shit like that. Anywho, so, point being, I just wanted to get all that out of the way before anybody says, like, oh, what's wrong with... Nah, it's the context and it's the air of how she was doing it. If she had sat up and she had, you know, for example, if I wear a more low-cut shirt, I, again, make it more presentable if I'm in certain settings. There's nothing wrong with showing your cleavage, showing your body and whatever. But when you're a fucking therapist and you're doing that online for hundreds of thousands of people to see, I don't know. I think it's just not smart to not consider how that might impact you in some way, shape, or form. And not just you, but your clients in particular. And also other people, because when I tell you this next thing I saw, you're gonna flip shit. I mean, hopefully, because the other red flag is bashing women. So not only was this channel that this chick created in support of men, and I'm putting quotes, it was literally her basically bashing women and talking shit about women in order to build up men. And it's just like, I saw quite a lot of like misogynistic type comments on her channel from men who were just like, oh yeah, all women suck and all this other shit. And it's like, oh God. And this is really scary, this video she posted, and I just have to say this because it's so irresponsible on her part. It's so ignorant, and I would even question at this point after seeing this whether this bitch actually, you know, has a licensure or not, because this was quite shocking to me that there's fucking therapists out there that think like this. It's terrifying. It's like, whoa. So she literally posted a video and it was labeled like, this is how like women of this in society act these days, basically. And the video was essentially this chick who was trying to choose what guy she wanted to be with or go on a date with. And she asked, you know, like, what would you do if I caught you in a lie or something like that, And the guy came back and basically described like what a narcissist would do, like gaslight you. And he was just straight up and said, I'm going to gaslight you and blah, 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 and all this other shit. And then at the end of the video, it shows the chick saying, oh yeah, I want to be with him. And I was absolutely, my mind, like I literally felt like the same way I felt every time I was being gaslit in my life. So, yeah, it really was pretty shocking because essentially what she was saying is that women these days are choosing abusive men. It's almost like she's saying they are, and it's the reason it's scary is because she's painting a false narrative about how the dynamics of abuse actually work, and how the fact of the matter is women don't choose to be abused. They would never choose to be with an abuser. What happens is the abusive person is very manipulative and very good at luring in the person, just like a predator would lure in their prey. And so they fake it. They mirror you, they fake it in the beginning, they're super nice, I hate all these terms, so I'm not going to use them, but like, they just do super nice things and try to make themselves seem like they're a great person and show you their whole best side and all this other shit. And so you think they're a good person until you get in sometimes pretty deep. Sometimes pretty deep with the person before you recognize what's going on. So it was definitely a misconception, and it's spreading misinformation, and it's also painting women as like idiots that are just basically choosing this, when in reality nobody, like if they knew, like, and I can speak from personal experience about people in the past, you know, if a person knew that this person was abusive, why in the actual fuck would they continue to deal with that person. That makes absolutely no sense. So it's painting women basically like victim blaming. It's basically like saying, well, women choose this and they, it's, yeah, not healthy, because the fact of the matter is that's just not true. Then she had videos on there that were like saying, oh, these are manipulative tactics women use and whatever. And that was misleading, because if you look at the statistics, it's literally 48% and 48% of men and women are emotionally abused in relationships. And she was essentially, and manipulative. And she was essentially trying to say, these are all these things that women do. And it's just like, again, when you direct it in that way, or say it in such a way where it seems almost like you are blaming, that can be detrimental to people, obviously. And it's confusing to, a woman who's being abused and comes across her page, when, something like that. So anyway, I'm not going to go on and on about that. So that's another red flag, is like being quite biased and like any type of bashing. Not bashing, but like, I don't know, just the context of what I'm talking about, basically just not having, because any good therapist knows that a huge part of the job is knowing how to remain objective and knowing how to be unbiased. And so therefore you don't say, oh, all women are like this. There were just a lot of generalizations. There was a lot of what seemed to me like attention-seeky behavior. It's just kind of like, there were videos where the person was, putting their face on it, but it was like, there was no reason for it. So to me, it just was very, presenting yourself in, I don't know, kind of a thirsty way too, which is not, like, again, I would never, ever, ever go see her. If I was just your everyday average, person trying to find a therapist, not everyday average person, I'm trying to say if I was somebody trying to find a therapist, a citizen trying to find a therapist, there's absolutely no way I would go to her, because it's like very evident to me she's seeking attention and, doing it under this guise of being a therapist. So those are some of the red flags. Again, anybody that presents themselves in the flesh like that, very much so, but then tries to claim that they care about a cause and whatnot, it's like, that's a red flag, because I just looked at the clock at 2:22. That's a red flag, because if you really cared, then why would you be focusing on, portraying yourself half naked and doing all this other shit? If you really cared, you would be out there doing something to help. Instead, you're posting stories and then intermittently posting your titties in between and thinking that anybody gives a fuck about you or respects your ass. Again, discernment is key, because I don't mean to say gives a fuck about you, but I just mean like, when I say that, I just mean that's not the way that you get attention. That's like a negative attention-seeking type behavior. And it's kind of pathetic to see this in 20-year-old, like people, 20-some-odd-year-olds, people in their 20s, basically, and even 30s. It's just pretty sad. And, because, for many reasons. So that's it for now.